Congratulations on your CBIA, and for a forward-thinking senator. In reference to that, I attended a legislative breakfast in February when I first started this, and the question about paid sick leave came up. And your answer, Senator Meyer, was that you voted against pay or for paid sick leave in 2007 and then against it later on. And the reason that you had done that was because the economy was okay in 2007, but in 2008, it was no longer good. We need to have, again, forward thinking. The CBIA endorsement, great job there. I'm looking for the endorsement of the people sitting out in front of me and the rest of the 12th district.
Would you propose a repeal of the recently enacted corporate tax surcharge? And would you explain your position?
We're going to agree, but I'm going to take my time to answer to one other thing. As far as Senator Meyer saying that he had to use judgment in the mandatory sick leave, we all know how difficult it is to change a bill once it's been passed. So when the economy goes south, how do we then get rid of that mandatory sick leave?
To bring it up anyhow, what legislation would you propose for changing the binding arbitration process to enable towns to more effectively face down excessive and in some cases unrealistic salary or benefits demands by the unions?
Binding arbitration, I'm married to a firefighter. When it comes to binding arbitration, I gotta tell you, when you have people's lives at stake, binding arbitration is really important. Firefighters, police officers, corrections officers really don't have the opportunity other than binding arbitration to have any negotiation within their contracts. I think that binding arbitration throughout the state, though, there is the opportunity here maybe to look at that, because I think that there has been some abuse of that. The unions have had the upper hand even with binding arbitration. So I think it's something that absolutely has to be looked at and looked at very carefully.
Some 40% of the Connecticut schools are not meeting the federal standards. What, if anything, should the state legislature do about this?
Sorry. 40% of the schools don't meet federal standards. Accountability is a big thing. And, you know, we applied for the race to the top and we grossly failed. Along with that race to the top came all kinds of additional mandates. Millions and millions of dollars of additional mandates to our schools. A lot of the mandates that are created are for failing schools. It's got to stop. When I talked to our superintendent in Regional District 13, her biggest comment to me was, Lisa, we are so burdened with silly filings, silly stuff, attendance filings. You know, somebody was late to school, so we have to file, this person has been late to school 6 times. I understand that we're trying to track things that might be going on at home and stuff like that, but where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? Why are we spending so much time worried about whether or not a child is coming to school exactly on time? Yeah, that is something the teachers and administrators need to pay attention to, but does it need to be something that's filed with the state? They have documents that are filed every single year that just sit on a shelf and nobody takes them. If they're not filing, they could be teaching our children. Now, isn't that a novel idea? We do need to start looking at alternative energy, but the state of Connecticut shouldn't be in the energy business. We should create incentives. We need smaller government is the bottom line. And you know what, Deb? I'm getting tired too. My voice is starting to go. You know, we are a consumption country, not just a state. And we really need to start looking at alternative ways to put forth energy incentives that will give people the idea that fuel cells, hydrogen, biodiesel are all great ideas. It is very expensive though. As a designer, one of the things I have found is that a lot of people want to be green. People love their environment. I love my environment. I want to do the right thing, but it's so expensive. To put a green floor into a house, a bamboo floor, it's 20% more than an oak floor. To buy green fabrics for a sofa, we're talking 30 to 40% more than man-made fabrics that aren't recycled. It's no different when we start getting into energy costs. The cost to put the solar panels on is very expensive, and it's hard for people to grasp and get their heads around how they're going to afford to do it. So yes, I do support alternative energy and bringing the cost of electricity down, but the other thing we need to do here is we need to address the true problem at hand. The true problem at hand is people are not making it here in Connecticut. It's too expensive, the taxes are too high, they're overburdened, underappreciated, and they're heading out of this state. So we need to really address how we're doing business in the budget. Bring down our taxes, repeal those darn unfunded mandates to bring down your property taxes, and make it more palatable to stay in the state. On announcement day, I said term limits. I didn't say it because it is the cool thing to say right now. It's because I wholeheartedly believe it. George Washington was asked to continue his presidency, and he said, "Thank you very much, but that's not what our founding fathers wanted." I wholeheartedly agree. As far as how long those term limits should be, as a state senate candidate, I'm going to say 3 to 4 terms, and I have put some thought into that. 2 years, you're getting your feet wet. Second term, you're starting to get in there, really do business. Third term, you're doing business. Fourth term, maybe you're finishing up. So maybe 3, maybe 4 terms, which would be 6 to 8 years. I actually want to comment on Senator Meyer's statement about the one legislative office. He also, House. He stated in the Brantford Eagle that he wanted it to be a full-time legislature. Again, I will return to our founding fathers. Our founding fathers wanted us to be part-time legislators and go back to our jobs, go back to our lives, live among all of you, living your lives, not just being politicians.
You're all in agreement in that there's a mass exodus of businesses and manufacturing from Connecticut. And there are still many farmers in Durham, Madison, and North Guilford. And this really bothers me because what would you do to help support them so that they can continue on farming in Connecticut?
I told y'all I grew up in Durham. We had chickens, we had sheep, we had goats. Preserving the farms are pretty important to me. Not cows, thank God. Those are too big. But actually, Senator Meyer has done a great job with that milk bill. But what we need to do is also remember that farms are businesses, and they need to be addressed just like every other business does also. We need incentives for them. We need to cut the taxes, watch the regulations. Everything that we want to do for the manufacturers, we need to apply to the farms. Everything we want to do for the retailers, we need to apply to the farms. They need our help, just like every other business does. Plus, they make great manure for the gardens.
I am Lisa Davenport,
and we approve this message.